Welcome back to the second video of my YouTube channel, Pandemic Programmer. Um, my goal for this channel is for anyone who doesn't know programming to learn a bit and just enhance their knowledge. So today we are going to talk about a data structure in Python, which is called a list, right? So a list is essentially just a collection of elements. So let's say you oh yeah, I forgot to mention they're denoted by these square brackets. The elements go inside, separated by a comma. So let's say you want a list of just random data types in your list. So we'll say 5 3. We'll put a string in there as well, apple, and float. So let's assign this list to a variable called list example. Alright, so let's talk about what a list is useful for. So suppose you were making an a game in Python, right? And so you want to store your user's data in a place where it can be easily accessed. So let's say you have a game and you want to score the user's store the user's high scores in a list. So we can say that the max score is 100. So some people got 75, 60, and 43, right? So in this way, a list can kind of host a collection of integers, strings, or floats, which are part of the same group. This is just an example. You wouldn't really apply this in real life, but if you wanted to have a collection of fruits, well, we'll just say apple, grape. Yeah, this would be a great way to store your data. So let's move on from that and talk about some of the things we can do with lists. So first, let's talk about indexing. So indexing is one of the most important kind of ways to access elements of a list. So suppose we want to access 5, right? And so what indexing does is it takes the list and you type in the position of that element in the list, and you do whatever you want with it. So list example, this list, and when you're indexing you also use square brackets. So in the brackets you put the position of what you want to access. Let's say we want to access an apple, so we put 2. So now you might be a little confused. If this is the third position, why did I just write 2 to access it? So one of the things in Python is that in a list, the first element is a 0, is like its position is 0. The second element's position is 1, and etc. So in this case, 2 would be the third position. If we were to do something like 3, that would be the fourth position, which would be 4.5. But let's just say 2. And to demonstrate, let's just do print function on this, and let's run this program. And we get an apple as expected, right? So of course you can try this out at home or on a run this whatever you want, but let's talk about a little bit more about what indexing can do. So more than just accessing the elements of a list, indexing can help you change the value. So for example, let's say we want a collection of fruits, right? So let's delete actually we're deleting the 3, right? So that's the first position, and we want to change it to a fruit. We want to convert this list to a list of exclusively fruits. So let's say this 3 was to become a banana. And so when we do this, we are indexing the second element. Remember, 1 is 2, 0 is 1. The second element of list example, this list, and we are changing this value to banana. So if you were to see how this works, we can do print the list afterwards and print the list before. And so you'll kind of get an idea of what this is doing. There we go. So this is before and this is after, right? So after we change the second position to banana, the second position becomes banana, but the rest stays the same, right? Every position, apple is still the third element because you're not really inserting anything or deleting anything. So yeah, you use indexing to insert elements into the list, right? So let's clear this. Now let's talk about another way of using lists, which is inserting elements, right? So a way we do this is by using a built-in function called append, like that. So we have the list and .append. This is a function which only works on lists. If you were to do an integer or something, actually, let's just say like x equals 3, and then you want to do x.append, that won't do anything. Append only works on lists, obviously, because you can't really add to a integer. So let's do list example dot append. And what do we want to append? So as you know by now, we're trying to make a collection of fruits. So we append a strawberry. So now, if we were to print the list afterwards, you would see that strawberry is added to the list. And by the way, when you're appending to a list, whatever you're appending always goes to the end. There's a way of adding to any position, but for now, let's just talk about these functions. Append adds to the end. So if I were to print list example, you'd see strawberry after 4.5. So let's try that out. And there we go. 5 banana, apple, 4.5 strawberries. But we still have 2 foreign visitors right here, 4.5 and 5, right? So now let's move on to the next topic, which is deleting elements. So list example, we're also using a built-in function for this, and we are going to use pop, list example dot pop. And so what this does is it removes the last element from the list. Of course, here we don't want to remove the last element, so what we can do is pop a certain index. Let's pop, or remove. Pop is a little confusing. Let's pop the first element, 5, right? So we're going to pop 0. Oh, and let's print again, just so that you know what is happening. Yes, so pops the first element in the list. 0 is 1. Just try to remember 0 is 1. I'm emphasizing it because you shouldn't get confused. So 0 is the first element. 5 is removed. Now we have one more, right? So we can just do pop again. List example dot pop. And what position is 4.5 in? 0, 1, 2, right? So we are going to pop 2 and print the list. And so now we have a collection of only fruits: banana, apple, strawberry, right? And yeah, these are the basic functions of a list. Um, let's talk about some other topics, an extra topic, but it's still part of lists. And so we are going to talk about a list in a list, right? So let's keep this here in case you want to refer to it. And let's type comment here, list in a list. Oh. So we are going to create a new list, and we're going to call it new list. And it's going to have so here we're doing a list and list, so we can do 5 3 cherry, I don't know, and we can have another list in a list just to help the example, just 4 and 3, right? And so now what we have is two lists in a list. So now this gets a little confusing. You might be wondering, how do we index if we want to index a list in a list? So when you're doing that, we can do, let's say we want to change cherry, which is the only outsider here, to an integer. So what we do is new list, and of course we have to index. So now what we do here is we think of these lists as elements, right? So this would be this first element, which is 0, and this would be the second, which is 1. So since cherry is in the first element, we say 0, right? And now we have narrowed down the list of suspects to this list. And so what we need to do is index that list again. So what it's doing is indexing a list in a list. So this is the second position, right? 0, 2. So when you're indexing a list in a list, you're supposed to do it side by side with the outermost to innermost, really. So 0 is the first element, 2 is in this 0th element, and it's the third element in 0. So let's just change this to 7. And oh, sorry about that. Let's print new list. And now what that should do is first let me just comment this out so it doesn't run. Right. Okay. So now when we run this, it should print this list, right? So yeah, these are the main topics of the main functions really of a list, and what you can do with the list. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.